Hello, fellow freaks. My name is Taylor, and I love movies that are trashy, weird, and gross. There is truly no better film for me to cover first than this one, which is an all-time favorite. So, Water Power is a movie that continues to shock and appall its viewers long after its initial release in 1976. It bombed during its theatrical run, with both theater owners and moviegoers reluctant to watch a movie where Jamie Gillis terrorizes women with an enema. Yet it has managed to stay relevant despite its initial failings, and has even become somewhat of a cult classic, especially with fans of adult cinema and, to a lesser extent, horror. I personally consider this movie to be one of the most important films ever made, and an absolute masterpiece. It exposed me not only to Jamie Gillis, who is everyone's favorite porno king, but also to the vast world of Golden Age adult cinema. But it can be hard for some people to understand such a vile movie that's filled with rape, misogynistic rants, and poop water. So why do I love it? Believe it or not, this absolutely outrageous story of a man forcefully giving women enemas is based in some truth. In 1975, Michael H. Kenyon was arrested in Illinois for 6 counts of armed robbery, and he also admitted to giving these women enemas, thus dubbing him the Illinois Enema Bandit. Seems like a pretty fucking bizarre crime to base your porno off of, but Sean Costello did just that, although absolutely not of his own volition. In 1975, Costello was working for Star Distributors, a company owned by the DeCavalcante crime family, who commissioned him to make this story of Kenyon into a pornographic film. Sean even recounts that his boss told him he did not care what liberties were taken with the story, and that he never wanted to see the fucking thing. In fact, no one at Star Distributors even watched Water Power before it was sent off to theaters. They were really counting on enemas to be the next big thing in porn. So with total creative control, Costello took inspiration from the Scorsese film Taxi Driver, which had just been released around the time of filming, and modeled the main character after Travis Bickle. He was able to make what he describes as a parody of itself, crafting an absolutely insane script and hiring his favorite actors to bring his funniest film to life. And while this was an initial failure, it was later released under Gerard Gamiano's name in hopes that his attachment to perhaps the most popular pornographic film of all time, Deep Throat, would bring in an audience. It didn't. The key to the film's success in the early years was, unsurprisingly, releasing it in Germany, where it became an overnight sensation. Who would have guessed? The film follows Bert, an isolated young man played almost too convincingly by Jamie Gillis. Fun fact, Gillis tried to interview Kenyon for the role, but he refused and wanted no part in the production. The first scene is of Bert walking through a crowded New York street, stopping to take a picture in front of a Bennington flag. The photographer asks him to smile, but he stares emotionless into the camera as the opening credits begin. This moment perfectly captures his uncaring nature and general joylessness. What Bert does find joyful, however, is pornography. His obsession with it is all-consuming, from the naked pictures that decorate his apartment, the stack of nudie mags in his room, his desire to watch his neighbor across the street strip through his telescope, and his visits to brothels. With the very opening being an exception, we rarely see Bert do anything that doesn't involve his sexual perversions. In addition to this, we see that Bert is lonely and frustrated. After spying on his neighbor but failing to get any satisfaction, he heads to the streets and visits a brothel where he's finally able to get off. Although, he mostly looks really bored during this blowjob. Bert notices that there are people wearing costumes in the brothel, so he questions the woman running it, and eventually learns that they cater to a number of fetishes, including one Bert, and I'm sure most of you, haven't heard of. High colonics. He is then invited to be witness to an absurd act of role-playing in which a young Gene Silver is strapped down, gagged, and, well, what else? Forced to receive an enema. For the first time in the film, we see Bert in a state of euphoria. He may not have previously known about the wonders of enemas, but boy does he love them now. While Bert was never a particularly likable person, this really transforms him into an absolute monster who spouts off misogynistic ramblings every 10 minutes. He views women as needing to conform to his very specific beliefs of purity, and honestly, he's one step removed from an incel, except Bert has a girlfriend. Yes, that is the most shocking twist ever. Armed with a newly bought Enema kit, his first victim is his favorite neighbor after he witnesses her having sex with her boyfriend. Bert watches them in disgust and nearly cries after realizing she's not the innocent angel he made her out to be in his mind. But he composes himself and ponders on his newfound purpose in life: cleansing filthy whores. He even refers to this as his job. This is how most of the film plays out afterwards. Bert finds a woman, becomes overly emotional to the point of tears and rage at her sexual promiscuity, and then he makes her pure again. The film, of course, takes liberties with the source material in that Gillis does not rob the victims, he rapes them before the enema. We are watching porn, remember? It's clear that this is one of the scuzziest, dirtiest, and wholly disturbing films ever made. Costello held nothing back, and neither did Gillis. Perhaps most disturbing is that as the film ends, Bert slips back into the night after his final attack, escaping any type of persecution. For all of its obscenity, though, Water Power is genuinely funny at times, in both the way it was written and performed. Bert's rants against womankind are so over the top, it carefully toes the line between being deeply upsetting and being facetious. Side characters' performances, especially Bert's girlfriend Barbara's, whose one and only scene is her nagging at Bert while he hides his head in shame, are equally amusing. Choosing to follow Bert in this taxi driver style with his constant narration gives an uncomfortable look into his disturbed psyche that sets it apart. It also makes this impossible to jerk off to. The sex scenes all being grim, even the more normal ones since they often have foreboding music playing as Bert carefully watches. Water Power is an almost impossible movie to recommend, but I'm gonna do just that. It is intense, ludicrous, and above all, filthy, but it is a staple of classic adult cinema that should be sought out for those curious and brave enough. There is no official release of this classic, unfortunately, but a few sites have put it out as a bootleg. Just make sure that you buy the Ultimate Enema edition. Thank you for watching, and I hope you'll check out Water Power if it interested you. If you like this video, feel free to subscribe for more reviews like this one. You can also check out my Letterboxd where I post more casual reviews, which I will leave a link for in the description below. See you next time.